Boys and I, Kitchener band, coming through for us actually for our new theme song for the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. Their song called White Hot, which I'm actually going to pull up the date here just in a second. It's a single. It's actually hasn't even come out yet. It's brand new, comes out February 18th on all streaming platforms. Check out the band on these internets at theboysandi.com, on social media, and at the Boys and I band. Oh, I gotta be very clear there. You guys gotta check them out. You gotta check their single out. You guys got to.
Yeah.
Awesome
Definitely.
though, and it is such a great song. It's a perfect song for racing, and I thank the Boys and I again for giving us an awesome new theme song for season 5, and hopefully we won't need a new theme. It's gonna be hard to beat that, in my opinion. I don't know if you're gonna be able to beat that one.
I don't think
unless
so. I really like They did a great job. They did. Thanks, boys. That's fantastic.
Also, while you're on the internets, check us out on social media at the WWOMS. Where I'm trying to be more active on the Twitter. So Facebook, Twitter for sure. Wallace is the Instagram man, so we're gonna have to get him going on the Insta, so that way we can get at you there. And we're also on all. It's so interesting to say if it's all major streaming platforms or all streaming platforms, because we're basically on all of them. So specifically Google, Apple, Spotify. There's a couple others in there too. We're all over on the podcast services, so check it out there. Also, our esports stuff on YouTube. Just check out the Wide World of Motorsports there, where a couple times a week we get together with the Wide World of Motorsports esports team. Some of our buds, we get together, we race, we have some fun, we test out new stuff, whatever. We race hard, we race in leagues, we do endurance racing, we do all sorts of stuff there, so check that out. And also new articles on our website at the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com, where we got some print as well there for people who like to read. For us smart folk. Nah. You think that was funny, Wallace? You're not smart?
I are smart.
So on this show, we got a fantastic show today. Really big show.
Yes.
Really big. We got Kyle Steckley on the show for a little bit later. We'll be talking to him and all sorts of things, and as well as his endeavors going into the APC United Series full time for the 2022 season. So we spoke to him a few days ago on the day we're recording here, so we'll get to that just in a little bit. But first, we will talk about what's hot on the it's the water cooler talk. I'm water cooler Dale. Have you seen those commercials?
Oh, that was a great commercial. Yeah, that was great. I love those
Dale's
commercials.
The best. But anyway,
he's got a great sense of humor, and his dry delivery is just fantastic.
You'd think he's like this old school, like good old boy Southern guy.
People might think he's
a party
actually
guy.
dumb.
He's fun. Well, that
I think
too.
People probably think he's dumb, but he's not. He's really actually smart. Really smart.
Yeah.
And really
some Dale
really
Jr. love.
Funny. Yeah.
there's always time for Dale Jr. love. There's no such thing as a bad time for that.
88 for Dale. I don't know how to do that with my fingers, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But yeah,
anyways, water cooler talk.
The Clash.
Man. I don't know. the Clash was. There was lots of clashing at the Clash.
Where do you begin? For those that don't know, NASCAR Cup Series headed down to Los Angeles to the famed LA Coliseum, which is like, I think they built that in like 1933 or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know it's seen a lot.
So it's a multi-purpose stadium built in a neighborhood in Los Angeles, and it was commissioned in 1921 to as a memorial to the Los Angeles veterans of World War I. Completed in 1923. It had this is what it says here on Wikipedia. It will become the first stadium to have the hosted Summer Olympics 3 times when it hosted 2028 Summer Olympics. The other times were 1932 and 1984. And it's also a National Historic Landmark. So tons of different sports. It's actually had racing before. Just to a smaller extent. It's a lot smaller cars back in the 40s.
USAC.
So there's a lot, and obviously with the style of that stadium as well, it has kind of that old Greek style. Anyways, if you like, for people that don't know, if they haven't seen the part of the stadium there, it looks really different, and I think that's another cool part of it too. And I'm just a freaking nut for that stuff anyways, so I was already sold, and I think I said that a couple weeks ago. I was already sold on it. And all the countless video games, all the countless films and TV shows that were filmed there too. Just that's another thing I'm a nut for. So it's like, it's no, for some football fans, or Rams fans, the freaking Rams played there at one point. Tons of.
Well, I'm just really surprised with it being,
Dodgers.
A historic landmark that they actually allowed them to race in there, like pave it and race.
Yeah, that's nuts too.
Really cool.
And it's so unfortunate, and you heard that so many times. Yeah. Oh yeah, tons of stuff, like absolute just crazy LA history behind it. But like, and as many times throughout the weekend, it was said by many different drivers and all sorts of fans and stuff. A lot of people were like, well, why do we got to get rid of this? Why do we got to demolish this? Like, why can't we just keep it, And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that can't be something that, especially in a stadium like that, you can't just have one of those, like there's some stadiums in the world where it has a thing where you can change the pitch, or the field, or wherever you're on the world, the playing surface with the grass or AstroTurf, wherever you are in the world, so you understand. So this ain't gonna happen here. There's no technology there. So unfortunately,
they have to have it. They have to have it cleaned up in 2 weeks, because in 3 weeks there's a big. I don't know if it's a rugby game or tournament or something, but there's a big. So they got 2 weeks to get that all cleaned up from Cup Series.
Man.
Yeah.
But so there, other than the couple of degrees of banking, like I could see in my head, like you could totally put a pitch on the racetrack if it was flat, but there's maybe because the banking they can't. That's why I'm just thinking, like, I'm not an architect though, so I can't tell you, but but like you would think though, too bad that wasn't completely flat, because then it would. Maybe it would, but there was surface under the surface underneath. There's a couple inches of gravel or pavement, and then gravel, and then some dirt, and then like wood, and then a big sheet, like some sort of whatever to protect it from the earth.
Right.
So, and the grass there too is a certain kind of Californian grass that they grow at a couple different California stadiums, by the way, folks. So that if that freaking field is ruined, I wonder if NASCAR has to pay for that. Um, but that's a side
Uh,
note because it's a good point to bring up. What's crazy though? Another side note: the original price, obviously, the inflation's changed it, but it cost just under $1 million to make it, but it cost obviously apparently around $1 million for NASCAR to make this. So many
yeah, we talked
years
about this,
later,
but so it cost them $1 million because you said the article had said that it cost them $1 million for the whole event. Did it cost them $1 million to build the track, or did it cost like I want to know how much it
from
cost
what
them
I
to build
heard,
it?
even the media too, from the broadcast, that's just the number that's thrown around generally and loosely. So there's
Hmm.
no, I'm sure we have some friends that have I'm sure they've heard some things, right? But
So
I don't know.
what I like about this is that I think this race was a success. This whole event was a
Absolutely.
success. I think this opens the door to be like, hey, guess what? We can do this anywhere, right? You could
Yeah.
do this in
Any stadium that
any stadium,
I
any
say Rogers
stadium.
Center, aka
Why
Skydome,
why not
bring him to
a
the dome
travel? Why not a traveling um
with
all star
retractable
race?
roofs. Go to a
Yeah.
place
So
with
if
a
it rains,
retractable roof. And
so
so a
if it
lot
rains,
of
they can keep racing.
a lot of the southern states have stadiums that are not fully enclosed. A lot of them are
Mm,
partially open, so there would be no
yeah.
question there for ventilation if they had to do that. As for the Sky Dome, I wonder how that would work if they were to have to close the roof or leave it
Why they
open a
do it for
bit.
monster trucks?
Well, that's true, and they just got a new ventilation system. So you can think
Yeah.
of even
So
up here in Canada, they could race up like that would be. I think
so they need to do it. They need to. This
that's
needs to
one point
become.
answered in our top 10 moments and takeaways. That's one point right there. Is where will this go going forward without even getting into all the good stuff first? This is obviously something that it looks like it was a success. I felt like it was a success. I liked what I saw. There was so much that happened as it was the first race in these new gen cars, and man, it was a lot, and I think it was also a perfect chance too at such a small track for these cars to also for them to get them worked in and begs there's a lot of other questions. This opens up a whole plethora of stuff, Wallace. Like we could go to so many routes here, and maybe the first route here is just throughout the weekend and how the cars took stuff, like the tracks, other how cars took other cars,
Mm,
how the car took itself. There's a lot of mechanical problems at points, but there's also points that also there could have been mechanical problems, and with the car's new composite body, and it shows that it can take some dings. There was a
right.
point in practice where Hamlin scraped the wall. His whole right side was scraped, and in his right wheel well area, there was a smidgen of a scrape there, but it didn't poke in, it didn't grip in, or it didn't go to cut his tire down. Last year that would have been a flat tire. Logano, he also there's a point where he ran in practice. We saw many times throughout the race guys running into each other. The bumpers were so used up, but I mean, if you saw how they looked, they were well intact. The diffuser, all that was well intact. These cars can take. I know this is only at 60 miles an hour, but they've shown that they can at least take some impact that fast. And even
Hmm.
through the race, we saw cars. It was in question that things were gonna get overheated, and we did see some mechanical errors. And then not to harp on the bad stuff, because that's obviously one thing that you're gonna see a lot on the internet, folks, right now. Unfortunately, in the NASCAR world, but there's that was bound to happen. It's the first race, and you if you're crazy to think that if the first race in a new car in any racing series in the world, you wouldn't see mechanical errors, you're nuts. So, I mean, that was bound to happen anyway, but they ended up working out. There's what's his face, the one fella. There's a cable, a brake cable, that ended up snapping, and I guess there's something different within that mechanical related things. It's not a Mike Joy explained it better than I will, but there's maybe
Mm.
but it's not a mechanical system like it was last year.
It's a fly-by-wire type system. I actually don't know.
I think you're right.
I didn't.
Yeah, I think
It's
that's what
electric,
it is.
so yeah. So there's no connection to the braking system from the pedal other than a wire that's for
Right.
an electrical signal, right? So
Right.
then it sends it out. So
That's been an
if
issue.
something,
Them trying to
yeah,
figure that out. Also, changing their line and stuff, how their driving styles are. It's different reaction. It's very reactive a different way.
well, yeah, and some of I heard that some of the drivers were saying that if they would have brought last year's car here, they couldn't have done it. So my idea of them bringing last year's cars to save these cars wouldn't have worked anyways.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but they said they wouldn't have made it around the track. So one of the drivers said, I think it was Austin, was saying that he probably figured that they'd be running just right up against the wall on the outside because they would never, because they had a different steering system, they wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to make the
Lock
corner.
system,
And,
and now they're in
and then
rack and
yeah,
pinion. But that's even
exactly.
they've even said that was a bit dodgy at points. Getting used to that, which I
Well,
think again is a perfect race to get used to that.
and you alluded to it too earlier, talking about Denny hitting the wall. Um, just how these cars really beat and bang. We saw that in the last chance qualifying race too. Um, they were really, really rough, and nobody got a flat tire. Did you notice that? No flat
Yeah,
tires in
yeah.
all of that.
Well,
If
remember
that was
they're
last year's
at that
car,
speed.
no, but
We'll see what happens
it
at
didn't
Martinsville.
matter. Last year's car, the tires were just so susceptible to getting clipped by the front, the front uh, lower part of the valance on the race cars, and any side movement,
Right.
just like you said, would puncture it. However, these ones are designed, it just doesn't get in there to puncture
Well,
tires.
what's fun though is I would like I said it a few times during the race. It's like I wonder how these are going to be at Martinsville. Like I can't
Well, they
wait
ran there. If they,
until the next gen at Martinsville.
that'll be awesome.
I cannot
It'll
wait.
be an awesome race. I can't wait to see them. Uh, oh, there's just so I can't wait to see them everywhere.
But going back here to the Coliseum and some of the other stuff, technical stuff, bigger
Hmm.
tires have enabled teams to run bigger brakes.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's for sure.
More rubber as well, a little bit more grip. There's not a lot more rubber, but uh,
They're wider too,
a lot more.
right?
But the
A
brakes
little
are
bit.
a lot bigger. There's no question about that. And there's a couple points where they're showing some brakes on fire there. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that place would have been hard on brakes.
just the there's a lot there that we took away from it as well. Um, just from the car, just the next. What did we learn about the next gen? And that's what we've seen. I wonder what it's going to be like going into Daytona. Obviously, totally different situation, and then going back to California to Auto Club to another bigger situation track, and um, it'd be interesting to see how it handles those places. We're gonna have to see. But
Yeah,
this
at the
being the
first couple
smallest track they've
races,
ran at in 50 years or whatever, I mean,
it'll be a few. It'll be a couple races in till we start to see things settle out. It's going to be a really random wild card, I think, for who's going to win races. Um, with teething issues with the car. But I think a great debut. Really, I questioned I was wondering if this was the right place to debut that car.
And they look
And to
sweet
be
too.
completely honest with you, I can't think of a better place that that car got to debut.
Yeah, it worked out, and it looked like it worked out well. And remember, all the talk was, remember, everyone was like, well, they don't have pieces, they don't have parts to it. And then
Well, they don't.
we
And there's two
realized,
cars that got really smashed up.
we
So,
realized they're only going around at 60 miles an hour. It's like,
yeah, but you
no
say
one thought
that.
of that though. I know,
But you
You
say that.
see the guy
But
hit the barrier.
look at Justin Haley. His whole front of his car is destroyed.
That was
Even
after
Kurt.
he hit the inner barrier, right? That was
Yeah,
nasty.
when he got hip checked
Hey,
from by
fun
Larson
fact:
there.
the outside barriers were borrowed from the Long Beach GP.
That's really cool, actually.
So those were actually technically IndyCar barriers, if you want to get down to the basics about it. But yeah, yeah. There was a couple points where it was pretty obvious. I think when I was watching practice, that Kyle Busch was showing that he was learning the track the best, and he had some of the best speeds, and he was finding his boundaries as well throughout the track.
Hmm.
In practice, it was already looking like he was going to be a favorite going on into the Sunday, and I think that was.
I think Kyle is
I didn't
a
think
factor
honestly. I didn't think of
everywhere.
that, but it makes sense
Kyle's a
because he
factor
has
everywhere.
experience in the bull ring at Vegas, and he's also got more experience in some of the other smaller track stuff he's done. Especially his kid getting involved with that stuff too, and
Yeah.
it was funny. I love how he said at one point, I think it was post race, and he was in second. He got second. They were in him
Yep.
for that, and he was like, he just kind of was like, oh, I wish I could have got one. Go check out my kid, sign him. It's like, did he kind of just like throw his kid under the bus kind of deal? Anyway,
No, he was saying
I
with
know.
Brexton won. I wish I could have done one better than him, but
I thought he was
somebody
just
better go get
jealous.
him a
Like
No,
he was
he's
just
just.
genuinely pissed.
You know what? Can I? So my wife hates me for this because I just told her that I think I've become a Kyle Busch fan, and it was at the Coliseum, and I'm gonna just tell you about the moment that made me go, he gets it. You know they're doing the driver intros, right? And they're coming in through
Yeah,
the
and he
thing,
does
and they
the
come down,
thing,
and he walks in, and people are cheering, and people are
and he
booing, and
does
he
the
looks
video.
around,
Yeah,
and he
and he
puts
looks
his
at the
hands up in
camera.
the air. I went, he gets it.
Peter did the
Because
same
I've
thing
heard
too.
before, because you and I have heard other places that he's actually a completely different guy away from the track. He's actually a really chill, cool guy, and this is a persona that he's playing. And I just
I
watched
get
him
it.
walk in, and I was just
I've
like,
never
yeah,
argued it, but yeah, that's
no,
funny because Peter said the same thing too, and I'm like, yeah, because I
what,
noticed
that he's
that too.
becoming a Kyle Busch
No,
fan.
no, well, like the way he took it, like it reminds me of wrestling when they come
Yep,
out of the
hmm,
stage. Like, and not only that,
100%.
Kyle Busch is also a WWE champion. If you didn't know, 24/7 champion, and Michael
Oh yeah,
Waltrip helped him win it. But
wow.
anyway, yeah, and this was only a couple years ago. I actually was like, wow, that was too bad it wasn't someone else. But I think it was
Well,
the year he
and
won the
what
championship.
I did notice when they were talking to a few different drivers that a couple of them did make a reference to it's a show. It's got to be good for the fans are gonna love it. Like Chase made reference to it. Blaney made reference to it after he threw his Hans device at Eric Jones there. Like all that stuff. I'm watching this going like I feel like there's going to be people out there going, "Oh, is Blaney going to get a fine for this?" and blah blah blah. And I'm watching this going, they are just loving this. Oh, this is perfect.
Oh
You, the
yeah.
guy chucking his shit at another car. I'm like, this is perfect. Um,
Now I thought he's actually one of my favorite drivers, so I'm not talking smack on him in any way.
who, Blaney?
I thought he was a little you know, I don't
I think
know.
he overreacted.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
He did because Eric. I don't think Eric did it See, the funny thing is, the post-race interview says that Eric basically says, "Yeah, I hit him because he brake checked me," and I'm thinking, unlikely he brake checked you, and I felt like Eric got pushed it from behind because that's what we were seeing a lot, right? It was never the car directly behind the car; it was always further down the line that was causing the wreck. But yeah,
Kyle definitely was the favorite, and I saw it earlier on in the week. And there's for some other drivers that could have been favorites.
Tyler Reddick until he had an
And
issue with the drive, the trans.
you were really all over Ty Dillon.
No, I wasn't over Ty Dillon. I found some of the stuff going on funny, and he was bouncing off everybody like a pinball. There
He
wasn't
was
a
a
thing that
tank,
he
and
wasn't
literally
involved in.
his livery was a tank.
Yeah,
Um,
but you know what?
that those are guys who didn't make the
Can
show,
you
but
really be mad? It's not like it was for points.
sure.
And he's got one job. He's got to make the show for his car owner and GMS Petty. So he's running hard and he's really got to make a name for himself, right? I've To be completely honest with you, on a side note, I think this is if Ty doesn't come good this year, not yeah, if Ty doesn't come good this year, and I don't know if they'd go to the next year. I think he's got one more shot in the big leagues. Anyways,
Sidebar here.
we're
Um,
sidebarring back and forth.
what's the deal with this? And I was so oblivious to it, and this tells you how much I watch football.
What?
I'm sitting here like almost midway through Sunday, and then all of a sudden the point gets brought up to me that this is like apparently they're all doing this because of the Super Bowl, and because the
Doing
Super
what?
Bowl, uh, this whole event this last weekend was because the Super Bowl is in LA this weekend.
What? The Clash?
Apparently, that that could be uh, someone could say that they were trying to attract the crowd, all the people that are getting there, or I don't know what. It was a Super Bowl thing. It was a football related thing. For some reason, that either that connotation was being put together naturally by fans in a good way, or it was being put together just in
Hmm.
oh, this they're only doing this for the Super Bowl, and I didn't even think of that. It's like wow, like well, it,
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense because why when the Super Bowl has been in really really good markets for NASCAR didn't go do the
right,
Clash there.
but this is new NASCAR though. This is
I
this is
guess.
this is new. This is
I have noticed a bigger linking with
je ne sais pas.
NASCAR and the NFL, right? Like last
I'm
year's
sick of it.
some running
It's
back
good.
or whatever became a sport ambassador or something for NASCAR, and he's been to a couple races and he likes it, and I'm thinking,
Football's cool, and I dig people
eh,
that watch football. I respect that they're athletes, but I'm
it's
sick
not
of
my
that
sport.
freaking that. Yeah, exactly. I never got it, especially with racing, but I do get it at the same time. It's good for business. They're trying to why not beat them, join them deal. It's got to be like that. But anyway, that was just a sidebar because I realized I didn't think
Well,
of it
okay,
that way, but it's
yeah,
possible. But whatever. We'll see if they fall around the Super Bowl year to year.
it
And
could be,
Vegas is next year, and they
it
already got a
could
track there.
be.
So,
Oh God, I hope they don't do the Clash there.
well,
No,
that's what I'm saying for 2023. What are they going to end up doing? Would it return to the Coliseum? You
no.
know, but anyway, so to not cross our wires here, it's still cool seeing the setup of the Coliseum and the cars have to drive on LA streets to get to the paddock.
Yeah, that was really
What they
cool.
call repping the set. Is that right? Did I
I
get
have
that?
no idea.
In the hood. I don't know. But yeah, they're driving in. Yeah, like there was houses on the street they had to drive on. Like I think that's pretty cool. Definitely something unique to the sport. They had
Yeah.
to drive a tunnel. They had to drive down in a tunnel too, which was really cool. So just something really different about it in that sense too is it's really different for them in an infrastructure point.
Yeah. Well,
Some top.
the drivers seem to really enjoy it. I think. I think they thought it was really cool.
Yeah, oh
I
yeah,
got
and
that
there was a lot
impression.
of drivers too that wish they were in it, that weren't in it. Not just guys that
Hmm.
didn't make it racing, but also some old school guys driving that slow or whatever, or for that many. That wasn't a long race either. When I say that slow, I shouldn't use those words, but when you drive at that rate of speed, I think it could be possible for a Hall of Famer or something like that, where they should be. There should be like a Hall of Famer, um, whatchamacallit spot.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Why? Why you want to go watch some old timer lose?
They do in
Eh,
SRX.
that's different. They're all old timers, and they
Okay.
get beat by the younger guys.
Anyway, some top
It's
liveries.
true.
What do you have to say for some top liveries? I say Harvick, Kislowski, and Cindric.
I really like Cindrix. Actually, I thought that was really cool. Um, what's this one right in the picture? Whose is
That's
that?
Almirola's.
That's kind of cool. I don't know. I found actually nobody. I did like Ty Dillon's Black Rifle Coffee livery. I'll admit that. Um,
It looked like a
yeah,
tank,
I
though.
wasn't. You know what? I wasn't. This will sound dumb, but I really wasn't looking at the livery in the way of remembering the livery. I was actually really
I
interested to
think I
see
see,
it how
see what you
many.
mean. Yeah.
I was interested to see how many sponsors utilize like
Oh
properly,
yeah,
properly utilize the space behind the number, because some of them I feel like all
it's a
like
big deal.
Pennzoil just made the Pennzoil logo bigger, right? And I'm like, look at Joey's right in that photo. Go back, yeah, see right in that photo. See, they just made their logo bigger.
Yeah.
But if you go to Bubba over here on the right, the 20 that one, see they kind of
Yeah.
like
It's yeah.
they've done something to it, right? They didn't just make their logo bigger, they like extended it and made it nicer. So I just that's what I was looking at with liveries, like Joey's. Go back to Joey's. I don't like that livery. I think that's the worst one ever.
Um.
With the number, I think that's
So
gross.
for that stuff, obviously, the more money, the more space, the more money for
I get
these.
it,
You
but
you
like
get the
Bubba,
business behind, obviously, yeah. But
I'm
for
not
people
I'm
that don't get it, the more space you get, the more you pay for these
mm,
secondary sponsorships.
right
Essentially,
that
trying to get more money into it. But if they're, is the team designing the? Is the team kind? That's
I
interesting.
don't think so. You know what?
Or is that all Pennzoil paid for? Do you know what I mean?
I bet you Pennzoil. I would bet money Pennzoil pays for the design from like a top marketing. I bet you that Pennzoil car is very. I think there's a lot of marketing behind
Because in
the
the
design of that
contract
car.
it says 30 by whatever the dimensions are. Like that's what it says the deal is. So, well, I'd love to find that stuff out. Some inside
But
stuff. I wonder if we're supposed to know that stuff.
I liked Bubba's scheme. I thought that was a really cool scheme. It wasn't boring. It was a little bit different. Like Kyle's scheme was boring. They just moved the number.
With the new M&Ms on it.
Yeah, yeah, eh.
Ice
Um,
Cube, the halftime the break performance. I loved that. That was awesome.
you would.
He didn't play. Today was a good day, which was disappointing, but I enjoyed some stuff on the side, and I it was to the point where it was unbearable. But I had a Fody and some endo on the side, as they say. I think that's what they say there.
You are talking to the wrong person for that.
That's what they say in the on the set in L.A. So that's what I was rocking on the side during that. I soaked that in, and that was awesome. It was, the crowd. He had the crowd in his pocket. They really responded to him. They really it was different in the sense because I've been to the Daytona 500 a couple times, and you get these. I think Georgia Florida Line was one, and I forget Rascal Flat. I forget what the other freaking one was I saw. I didn't notice much of a connection with at least the crowd in the stands. Maybe the crowd on the field, but it's a totally different vibe with an artist, like that, who's considered in the hip hop genre.
Yeah,
and shots. They had shots to the crowd with people dancing and a lot of young people, and there was a big mix of people in there, and it.
they had Pitbull there do before, right?
Yeah.
He did a concert before, so
to warm them up.
Yeah.
It was a totally. Pitbull, though, not completely unfamiliar with the NASCAR crowd. I think he has done a performance with NASCAR before on another track. So, but yeah, I think Ice Cube did great, and he enjoyed his time with, I think he liked it too, and this goes back to another thing too, is just like the reaction of the crowd sometimes with the drivers, knowing that a lot of people in the crowd are new to the sport, and it was interesting to hear how they reacted during driver intros. Oh, and sidebar on the WAM sidebar here. We gotta sponsor that stuff. The writing on that could have used some, unless that's you know what, now that I think about it, they're probably that's the best they could do, I think, with the intros. With the intros.
Oh. Yeah, they were
basic.
They were
I think
written for people.
Yeah,
they were not written for racing fans.
And they were trying to spin it off like Chase or Bubba, or was it Ryan and Bubba? They were trying to spin. I think it was Ryan and Chase, and they got into each other at some point last year. I'm like, they're like best friends. They'll screw each other up, but they're not. They're not. They let's get it straight to people that they're not. They don't hate each other, because people are going to think, because there's a lot of new people there. But it was interesting to hear how they reacted, and for people that were new and who they naturally liked and didn't like.
That was interesting.
Which is kind of
sidebar.
It's like
I liked William Byron's paint scheme.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
I did like that. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, it was like a social experiment. It was interesting to see how people reacted, and it also brought in different people, as you even said yourself. You watched it with your wife, and she watched it with you. I'm sure that happened a lot in a lot of different households, especially as the Olympics are on, and maybe some people are flipping through the channels looking for something. And you saw it on Twitter. I saw people tweet about it that never usually tweet about NASCAR stuff. There was a lot of people that were, it should draw them to it. And here on the WOMs, we never talk about ratings and attendance, but I think it's safe to say that the facts are there that that the stands were fantastic in my opinion, and B, the actual ratings, NASCAR, other than the Olympics, NASCAR won the demographic you want to win in. I think it's 18
Right.
to 40 or something like that. So if you wanted to go to the ratings deal, they did good there. So if you wanted to get technical, if you wanted to argue, one would want to say that, oh, the stands were empty, oh, no one watched it. Well, the facts are actually opposite. They actually show that
Uh,
the stands were full and the ratings were there. So just so for people
Well, and what
know
was
the facts, there's the facts.
well, what was interesting was that when the heats were on and the last chance qualifiers, there were people there, but people really filled in late for like the main event, the main show. But it's people wanted to go see it. I don't know. There's probably like 50, 60,000 people there. I don't know what the number is for how many people were there, but
More
again,
people than any other clash.
I heard stats that, um, again, that they were saying 70% of the ticket buyers had no affiliation with any NASCAR event ever.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, that's really big. And it played on Big Fox, right? It didn't play on FS1. It got way better coverage on TV. Like this was
It was legit,
this
and
is new NASCAR. Like, welcome to this is almost like NASCAR going and how perfect with a new car, right? This awesome new event, boom, and NASCAR just trying to be a little new and different. Like, I didn't like Joey's paint scheme, but there's a picture of him standing right next to his car in Victory Lane.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no, he's standing on the door in Victory Lane, and I'm looking at the car, and I just go. That's super badass looking. Like I love how the front tires
Even
just up
though
in the
2 minutes,
fender.
we should pull that clip up of
No, I don't
three
like the
minutes
paint
ago
scheme.
when
I don't
he's.
like the paint scheme. I'm not talking about the paint scheme or the livery. I'm just talking about the car.
Right, I agree with
And
you. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
like I love those
The cars
rims.
look awesome this year.
Um,
So
oh,
for
the louvers on the front
oh
fenders.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
so for the actual show though, the race, and there was a lot of good racing. I wish it was
Hmm.
longer. It could have gone another 75 laps because we saw at the end. I think Kyle was just about to catch up. Eventually, lap traffic was coming in play. It would have been real cool to see more of what could have happened
Yeah.
because I feel like it was like they ended it right before things were gonna get good. It because a lot of people said Kyle didn't have the intestinal fortitude to get up there and dump him, or he didn't
Yeah.
have the car. I think that he just needed a few more laps to get up to lap traffic. There should have been a bit more racing there for both those guys
Well, they
and
just
for
they
other
had
cars
some
to catch
untimely
up.
cautions, right? It was they could just as Kyle and Joey were catching lap traffic, they had a caution which reset up the field and everything. Um, so that played a role in the way the race played out too, right? I think we didn't get to see that battle that we maybe thought we were going to see, like
Right.
we saw in the last chance qualifying race, but what was interesting was to see how quickly Kyle's car fell off, right? How he just couldn't turn. I thought he was going to lose second, really.
Yeah. There was what was the third place? What was the
You know what? I was actually thinking about this today about the finishing order of that race, and I couldn't think of it because it didn't matter. That was a race that it only mattered who won,
Austin
right? Because it
Dillon,
wasn't a points race. Austin Dillon, wow. Hey, that's
Eric
pretty good.
Jones, Kyle
Maybe
Larson, William Byron, Cole Custer,
that's
Christopher
right.
Bell, AJ Allmendinger, and Kevin Harvick to round off the top 10.
That's right, Eric Jones. See, I wonder why did we see a couple names up there that we shouldn't see? Is it now that the cars are kind of more equal that you're
Yes,
gonna
and
start
the
to
old
see
guys are having a tough time potentially,
with
but you know,
with the new car?
Kyle's like an old guy though, and he's looking like he had no problem.
Kyle is gonna be
I consider him an old guy.
he is like Harvick too, right? You think of there's such the old guard of the sport now. the protectors or the enforcers.
Oh
Even
yeah,
like
Harvick
Denny's
was
an
a
old
few years
guy.
before Kyle, but yeah, I mean,
No,
still
no,
with that
I mean
same
no,
era,
right?
same generation,
Like who
basically.
else? Like who else? Like Truex. Like
Yeah,
Keselowski's considered an old guy now.
Truex had a tough time. Keselowski had a tough time. Harvick had a tough time.
I don't think Truex
Um,
had a tough time. I think Truex decided. I think they chose not to race their car the whole weekend. I think they just chose. He was more than happy to stay at the back and not. I think they were protecting the car. To be completely honest with you.
maybe. Oh, that was another thing. Cars got torn up. Aftermath of that, there might be some tempers flaring over into Daytona. We'll see.
Nah.
You never know. You're right. Now you see a lot of them say they forget about it, and especially if that was a non-points race. They'll go into Daytona.
I mean, you
Next
heard it
couple weeks with
in
a fresh
Blaney's.
mind.
Like, I think Blaney, when he was talking to the camera, realized that he flipped out for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna see anything. I think it'll be fine.
All in all, though, at the end of the day, I would probably give that race a 10 out of 10. And yeah, it'll be fun to cover the rest of the Cup season here on the WWOMS. Going into our next part of the show here, we were able to sit down a few days ago with a up-and-coming rising star in the southern Ontario parts here, where there's lots of good racing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Steckley definitely making it some good racing for us to watch. And we were able to have a lengthy chat with him.
Yeah.
And so now here is our interview with APC Series driver Kyle Steckley. Here we are with Kyle Steckley joining us here on the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm looking forward to talking to you both.
Yeah, and we've been looking forward to this, and also for a while there, watching you the last couple of seasons. It's you've been definitely making a name for yourself out there on the track. So cool to be able to have you on, especially a Canadian on the show. So keeping that CanCon in here, but yeah, as I said, you've been making a name for yourself here in Ontario.
Yeah, the past couple of years have been going pretty good for me, and just racing and just going about racing and having success. And I guess I'm making a bit of a name for myself and having fun and just moving up the ranks.
Yeah, fun is the big thing, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do it if you're not having fun.
Yeah, and I could tell that you're having fun out there. That's got to be the big thing. And as you're learning throughout all the tracks that you've been at, and I can tell that Flamborough is your, has a little place in your heart, I think.
Oh yeah, Flamborough's a great track. I love it. I've been ever since I got in a mini stock, which was the first car I ran that was a full-sized car. I've always been Flamborough, my home track. It's the closest track to me, and I just love it there. It's a ton of fun. It's a hard place to get around, hard place to pass guys, and it's great racing. It's hard racing, and I'll always love Flamborough, going back there no matter where I end up. Flamborough is always home, and had a lot of great years the past couple of years there, and had a lot of success.
Yeah, and so for the listeners and viewers, so the mini stock, that's your green car, right, with the black bumpers?
Yeah, so for people who don't follow as close, so the mini stock was the car I ran the past 2 seasons before 2021, and it basically it was based off it was a 1988 Ford Mustang at one point, and then got converted into a race
That's
car.
awesome.
And pretty much not very much like a 1988 Ford Mustang anymore, but it's a 4-cylinder class. So all cars are 4 cylinders, and it's kind of more open class. But that's what I ran for the first 2 years of my stock car racing career, was a mini stock, and I ran it at Peterborough Speedway.
What are going about your mini stock there, Kyle? Just wondering what are the changes or differences between that and say a real 1984 or, Mustang? What big changes did you have to make to the car to put it on the racetrack?
Body's a big thing. None of the body panels, except for the front fenders, were actually off a 1980s Mustang, but everything
Wow.
else is pretty much made to fit for the race car. And then you obviously have to put a chassis in it, a roll cage in it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
None of the interior's the same. It's all a different interior, and
Right.
but a lot
Wow.
of the suspension components are the same. The front
Right.
suspension is very similar. The engine had work done to it, but so some things are similar, but then there definitely is a lot of things that have changed.
Oh, that's interesting. So when I was younger, and I've talked about it with Jordan on the podcast, I grew up going to Barrie Speedway, which is north of Barrie.
Yep.
Not there anymore, right? It's gone
Yep.
now. It's made way for Boots and Hearts, which is really unfortunate because that track was a lot of fun. Fun to watch on. Never drove it myself. But when they started with what we call the 4-cylinder class back then, it was very, stock, right?
Yep.
And now you're talking about changing body panels and what is a car like, and having engine work done. Like that's crazy. What is a season? You don't have to give us exact numbers because that's none of our business. But what is a season to be competitive to go for a championship in mini stock? What does that cost? Where's the figures?
Well, you got to buy the car, which is definitely one of the most expensive parts getting started. But then once you have the car and all the parts, it's not as much. It's not like a pro late model where you have to buy tires every week and that
Right.
sort of thing. So it's probably about entry fee and gas. It's probably, to be competitive, likely $300 to $500 a night.
Okay.
And then to get the car, you can buy a decent mini stock from anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000.
Wow. Okay. And did you guys make this in shop and at the race shop for 22 racing?
We bought the car, and then once we had the car, we did a lot of work to it on the body, and we bought the car complete, but then we did a lot of upgrades to it before we took it to the track.
And just last question on the mini stock, because there's bigger things to talk about. But what made you go with the Mustang rear wheel drive? I'm assuming that there are some front wheel drive cars in that series with you guys.
Yeah, a lot of them actually are front wheel drives, but when I was getting in the mini stocks, I always wanted to move on to bigger things than mini stocks, and all higher classes than a mini stock are basically rear wheel drive. So for learning purposes, the smart move was to get the rear wheel drive car so that I wouldn't be switching from a front wheel drive to a rear wheel drive car, because it's a big difference. And Dad's always ran rear wheel drive cars, so it would have been a huge learning curve, and it wouldn't have been the smart thing to do with our future plans.
Fair enough. No, I didn't even think about that. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned with you bring up your dad a little bit there and jump to him. I mean, we have actually it's cool. I think I was walking around the pits at Delaware. It was July 3rd weekend, and I think it was you and him. I think he was just kind of just showing you something, and I was just taking pictures, just walking along with my camera, and it's like, wow, like now it's cool, obviously having you back on the show and seeing him kind of showing you as well. I'm sure there's a lot too that you've learned with him throughout doing the mini stocks and then going up to the pro lates and up eventually, obviously now getting into the APC.
Yeah, I've definitely learned a ton from him. I've learned everything from him. He's taught me, from driving the car to doing the work on the car to everything, really, marketing, everything with the sport I've learned from him, and very thankful for what he's done for me and everything he's taught me and all the opportunities he's gave me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Can you explain pro late models. So kind of like I said earlier, and before we got recording, I was talking to Jordan because we were talking about these different classes, and some tracks called different things, different names. And what is a pro late model? The local Saturday night, the top of the line car that you would see at your short tracks. Like that's the weekly, how am I trying to put that? The highest weekly class of the track.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Pro late model is it's the biggest division of short track racing. It's the top division of most short tracks in Ontario. The biggest car counts, the best racing there is. It's pretty much a custom race car. It's not based off of an older car, street car, anything like that. It's pretty much custom for racing. It's definitely expensive compared to a mini stock or a cheaper or not a lower division like mini stocks. But you run American Racer race tires that you go through pretty quickly. You've got a Chevy 604 crate engine in it. Ooh. That makes about 420 to 450 horsepower. You've got independent front suspension with upper and lower control arms, race shocks. The list goes on and on. Pretty much everything about the body is customized to be, the top performance.
Right. Okay. So that's quite a big jump from mini stock to pro late model. Like what's a mini stock running with the Mustang? Maybe 200 horsepower. Maybe I don't even really know.
Yeah, mini stock. The classes they run about 150 to 180 horsepower.
Okay, so you go from 100.
Close enough,
let's
Wallace.
give it the top end. You go from 180 horsepower to 450. You said. Yeah. That's a big jump. How did you cope with that?
What? Definitely a learning experience. The first time I went out in the pro late model, I stepped on the gas and the tires were spinning. So it's definitely a big difference. Throttle control is a lot more important in a pro late model, but it's kind of weird because when I first jumped into a pro late model, I thought the mini stock was harder to drive because in the mini stock there was no power steering, the shocks were old, and then you hop in a pro late model and the shocks are good and the brakes are good and the steering's easy, but they're definitely way faster. You have not near as much time to think and make decisions, and everything just happens so much closer in a pro late model.
So So my racing experience is iRacing. So
me too.
I have zero racing.
I'm a big race car driver.
Yeah, I'm big time. I'm huge. All the girls know. No. So one thing I notice in the game, I'm going to get in trouble for calling it a game, but is that it takes a couple laps, and especially with the late models. I'm assuming the late model on iRacing is comparable to your pro late model.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So running that, it takes usually like 2 laps for the tires to kind of to come into temp, right, and get you some good grip. Is that the same in real life?
Yeah, that's the exact same. When you go out, your tires are cold, and you're warming up the tires, trying to get them up to temp, and that's really important in real life. Because you can say you don't warm your tires up real well, and then you go and jump on the gas on a restart and you spin the tires and get a bad jump. So that's definitely a really important thing. iRacing is honestly really comparable, but yet at the same time, it is really different for sure.
Yeah,
of course. I don't definitely don't assume that I could jump in the car. The biggest thing is you can't feel. I could do it, but I don't know if I'd be successful. Right? There's no feel. I got a steering wheel.
Ruin someone's car.
It's all visual and a little bit in the steering wheel, right?
Yeah.
So what about the other question? Kind of, I'm going to get a little technical and a little geeky with this stuff. I hope you're okay with that, because it really is what grinds my gears with this stuff. Is when do you know your tires are in an appropriate temperature? So you do your driver intros, you're all on the track, you're waving to the fans, you start your engines, you do a couple warm-up laps. It's a cold June night. how do you know that you can trust your tires going into turn one?
You don't. You just gotta trust them, really. And hope for the best. I guess you can kind of judge it based on how the tires feel when you're warming up the tires, and then how your restart goes. If you spin your tires on the restart, you're going to be a little cautious going into one, because that your tires are obviously cold. But sometimes you can go into one, you can get a good restart and barrel it into one, and then the car doesn't turn because you never got your right front hot enough. So it's kind of a guessing game, and just hope for your best that you got your tires warm and go from there. But yeah, that's one thing that you have to worry about for sure.
What about brake temp? As important as tire temp?
Not really.
Okay.
You don't have to try and brake temp's more of a worry on long run. So when you've got a 60 lap run going and your rotors start glowing bright red, then you're in trouble. But
which are great for photos, but
great.
Yeah.
For me, it's great.
Yeah, so you got to watch that. I've always tried to be easy on braking, and some guys like to really drive it in and use a lot of brakes, where I've always preferred to let off early and use less brakes. But we do have brake fans on the cars, so that if you're on a long run, you can turn the brake fans on, and that just helps you out a bit.
Okay. That's really interesting. And while you're driving, are you constantly through the race adjusting your brake bias, or is that something you like to set? How do you like to run your car?
So I like to set it at the start of the year, and then I don't adjust it very much during testing. Once I know I have it set good, I don't use it as an adjustment unless I have to. So I like to keep that for an emergency adjustment in the race, only if my car isn't handling good. If it's not handling good, I'll in the race and we're 60 laps in, I'll adjust that a little bit to try and help what's hurting with the car. But I really don't like to play with it too much. I like to do other adjustments throughout the year, and testing, I only use it when I have to.
Really?
Right.
Okay, that's really interesting. Is that a common thing in racing? Is that a preference thing for drivers?
I think it's pretty common not to adjust it necessarily for testing, because there's kind of I'd say there's probably a common goal for most people of what they like their brake bias be from front to rear ratio of pressure.
Right.
But so once we kind of have that settled at the start of the year with what the car likes and what's working best, people don't like to adjust it too much unless they have to during a race.
Okay. Well, hey, look at that. I'm learning.
What about some of like the strategy and stuff? Like who's chiefing you? Who's spotting for you? What are some of the things that you kind of look out for in a spotter and a crew chief?
Yeah, so my dad's the crew chief. He makes between me and him, we make the decisions on the car on what adjustments we want and what we want to do. And I'm probably involved more than some drivers on what adjustments to make, and I'm pretty picky with that and what he does to the car. And we have different opinions sometimes, so we go back and forth about what to do and what not to do to the car, but we're both just trying to make the best adjustments without messing it up or something silly going into the race. And then I have a guy who's been on my dad's crew for a long time, and now he's been helping me out with tires and spotting, and he's been a great spotter for me and keeping my eyes open and let me know where all the cars are around me.
Awesome. That's great. You want to talk about APC, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't know, I'm partnering with APC Auto Parts this year.
Man,
and
awesome.
Super excited. There's not really a better sponsor you can have in Ontario than APC Auto Parts. They do so much for the racing industry. It's great, and super thrilled to have them on board and running their number 22 that their past drivers have drove: Pete Shepard, Jamie Cox, Jamie Ramsey. and I'm excited to carry on that
company.
as well as my dad was always number 22. So
Yep.
it's going to be really cool to carry on the 22 legacy for both APC and 22 racing. And, I can't wait to get the season going and show everyone what we've got. And, hopefully we can get a lot of wins and hopefully end up in the champions at the end of the year.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I got a bit of a deep question for you.
Okay.
Your dad's a bit of a legend, especially in the Pinty series, right? He's a 4-time champion. He's won a lot of races. If you talk to anybody who knows anything about the Pinty series now, at time he did CASCAR and Canadian Tire Series, they know who he is.
Yeah.
How have you been able to, or have you noticed racing in a shadow of him, or is he very? I would assume he's very supportive and like, don't worry about let's work my past, let's work on your future. Do you feel that there's added pressure at racetracks, or are you pretty good with not thinking about it?
I think there's definitely a lot of goods and a lot more goods than bads, but you definitely have a lot of pressure on you, thinking with how good he did that he should be able to do good. And like, I've got basically out of one of the best shops in Ontario. I should be able to go out and win pretty much every race. And, I've got a lot of pressure on me, but at the same time, like, nobody ever pressures me. Dad never pressures me.
No.
And just go out and have fun and do what you can do. And that's the main thing, is to have fun. So, he's definitely taught me a lot more than, he's taught me a lot more than I could have learned.
Sure.
So I just, it's definitely a good thing to have him by my side.
For sure. I would agree 100% on that. So enough about him. We're talking to you, and I want to know more about you. How's you ran APC race in 2021?
Yep.
You won, right, at Flamborough. I got my facts right.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a challenge to step up from the pro late model to the APC and win, or
the
happened
APC
there?
series is pretty much the most competitive, largest series you could probably say in Canada right now. It's really thriving. There's large car counts at every single race. 10 cars that could win every single night, and some really great competition. And so going from the Flamborough Weekly, Flamborough Weekly has a lot of great cars and it's definitely competitive, but to go to that big of a field and that big of an event, we really just wanted to get the feel for the series and go out and, have a solid finish and learn how everything works with the series. I was not expecting to go out and win, but all the opportunities worked out well. We had a really fast car that day. We were fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying. We got the pole, and then there's an invert, and we started 8th. So
wow.
I was just gonna ride and see what happens at the end, stay out of trouble. And we got lucky. I was running third, and I was about, I don't know, a half a track back maybe to the two leaders in front of me, and we had about a 50 lap run, and I was just riding there comfortable in third, and I thought we can just cruise to the end with this. I'm happy with the third, no damage to the car. And the caution came out, and the two guys in front of me got battling and slid up the track a bit, and I made a move and got the lead and never looked back after that. So it was a pretty amazing day, and definitely the highlight of the year to win an APC race.
Yeah,
In
at
your
your home
first
track too.
Yeah.
What was the car like? Was that is it probably like a really familiar in some senses? Was there anything that you kind of just felt really comfortable? Was there anything that was kind of really sticking out to you?
Yeah, I was just really comfortable. The car felt amazing. But all day the car was really good. I was fast, comfortable. I just have so many laps around Flamborough that it was definitely a great place to make my debut. And the car was great. it worked good all day. It didn't really change over the 100 laps, where sometimes your car can go from tight to loose, or by the end of the run it can't be handling the same. And we just had a really consistent car, and it worked out good in the end.
And right.
So
go ahead, go Wallace.
go ahead. No, go.
I was just wondering on you. I mean, you're a bit younger, but what is it like on the body? Kind of going, you're kind of going to longer and longer races, kind of over the years here. What's it been like with that? What are you doing to prepare for this?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay active, healthy, workout, and stay in good shape so that I can continue to do these races. Because 100 laps is definitely, it's not a short race, especially if you have cautions in there or it's a hot day, and it can take a bit of a toll on your body. You're definitely tired, sweating, and especially cautions can really do that too, because when you're racing you're not really thinking about it, but then when the caution comes out you're thinking about it. So so if there's a caution with 2 to go and you're thinking about it, it can kind of be a bit of a mental game. But I think I'm in pretty good shape, and it hasn't been too bad yet, but we'll see. Maybe once I get into these 250, 300 lap races, it's definitely going to be even harder. So I just got to keep staying in good shape and, be as best physical shape I can, which will help mentally. And I think that's important too, is being mentally there for the entire race.
Right. There might also be what about your competition kind of over throughout the series? I mean, potentially might not be getting any easier as well, but there's also within the field that you're running with, there's a lot of guys there that have, you got those old school guys, or you got guys that also too, and I see guys like Trayton out there, and what's it like, like a guy kind of around your age too, racing with a guy like that. Does any of that come into play at any point?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different styles of racers. Some are very, very respectful, very clean racers, and others are more old school, moving you out of the way. And you just really, in my opinion, you just gotta learn and respect each driver and their different driving styles, and know that how you want to race and how you want to be raced, and race like that. And I feel that personally I'm going to race you clean until you give me a reason to not, really. I know there's some guys I have in my head that I think if I'm behind and there's 2 to go, they're going to, if roles were reversed, they would move me. So, I may give them the bump and run, but a guy like Trayton, I know he's very, very clean, very respectful racer. So I would definitely just ride behind him. I wouldn't be giving him a bump and run. Right.
You got a really cool opportunity where you're able to kind of learn some other or see some other styles too, and you might be able to you get that experience now, because obviously it's gonna keep seeing more younger drivers coming in at some point, right? Or it's happening already, and a lot of those classic guys, they're gonna end up obviously heading on out and doing it. Yeah, they're gonna probably end up they're always around the track or whatever, they're doing something else, but I think that's really cool. You get to kind of soak that in. Do you get any pointers from other drivers? And I also know too, with you being with your association obviously with 22 Racing, there's also a good stable of drivers involved with that race team too. Do any of them also too you ever see them, and what do they say to you, kind of deal?
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of advice from some great racers. Crane's always there if I ever need help with anything or any advice. He's a great guy to go to, and we're good friends. We do iRacing together, so it's good having him around. And J.R. Fitzpatrick's a guy who's always willing to help whenever we need anything. He's right there, and same with DJ Kennington. He's been great to me, always willing to help with anything I need, and he's been great to have. And obviously my dad, I can ask a lot of questions with him. He's the guy who's taught me pretty much everything. So there's a lot of guys out there who will help me. They're all all racers are, not many racers are going to say, no, I'm not going to help you. A lot of them have a lot of respect, and they're good guys. So I'm thankful to have all them people I can ask for help if I need it.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome
that's
to hear.
really good.
Because as sometimes even as a fan though, you kind of look back there and you kind of see sometimes in the track you kind of someone might give you a little door bump, or they might rub you up a little bit, but maybe they're just little love taps or something like that. So now you're kind of looking at you're going to be going to a few different tracks too throughout next season. Try to maybe pull us up. So what tracks?
I have it.
There you go.
I have that.
Pull that up. Yeah, thank you, Wallace. So you're starting off. You're going to be at Sunset, Flamborough, Peterborough, Delaware, and then Flamborough again, Sauble, Sunset, Sauble, Delaware. So any of those tracks there, what are some of your favorites, or what are some of the tracks that maybe you would say that you could learn a lot at and maybe improve at?
So Flamborough is obviously my home track. It's where I have the most laps, where I'm the most comfortable.
Well, I should have. Yeah, it's number one. Yeah, I should have guessed that.
Delaware, I raced that at the end of the year, and I'm racing the regular Friday nights there this season. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it's a tough, bumpy track to get around. So I'm really looking forward to that track. The track,
what are you racing Friday nights there?
Pro late models.
Okay, sorry, so just curious.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing the APC series as well as the Friday nights at Delaware and the Pro late models.
Cool.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, so with that, I'm going to learn lots there, and it's good to just get to a different track to get a lot of laps.
Yeah.
The track I probably will be able to learn the most at is Peterborough Speedway. I've never been there before. I had the opportunity to go there in a mini stock, but we decided not to, just because of how far away it was, and the travel, and we didn't want to wreck the car, so we didn't run there a couple of years ago, which maybe we should have now that it's back on the APC schedule. But I'm hoping we can maybe go out and test, because it's definitely a tricky little track, and it's going to be important to do well there. I've went testing at Sunset, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a different track for sure as well. You really got to arc it into the corner and the late apex. So I'm looking forward to racing there a lot too.
Yeah, Peterborough. My father and I go there quite a bit. That's always been one of our favorite tracks, and it's always been good. A bit of an old school
feel there. Well, a lot of
it is. Well, I mean, the outside wall is those concrete barriers you see on the highway, and I've seen cars go over that because they got that little angle right at the bottom part of the track, but that's a great little track. The APCs would be fun to watch there for sure. Actually, in all the tracks, Sunset always puts up a really good show. That's a fun little track, and Sauble's great. Have you raced at Sauble before?
Yeah, I raced the mini stock there. I raced an invitational event. I think it was a Beat the Heat weekend. Can't remember exactly, but it was a 50-lap invitational mini stock race there, and there was 31 cars, and I ended up finishing third my first time there. So I really like Sauble. My grandparents have a cottage just 5 minutes away, so that's a great place to go to as well.
Yes, it's a real beautiful part of the province over that side. If people haven't been there, what's with running the APC late model compared to your pro late model? What was the single most challenging thing to deal with? Like, what was the newest thing or the hardest thing to get your head around with the super late model?
They're both the APC late model and the regular pro late models. They're basically identical cars.
Really?
Yeah, there's just a few small changes. They're both pro late models.
Right.
If same in horsepower, they're the same as well.
Yep.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Why name? Why do they call them super late models? Or is that what is a super late model different?
A super late model is different. A super late model has more horsepower, but they don't run super late models in Ontario. They run they run like Oscar super late models, but they don't
Right.
have template super late models in Canada.
Okay, so I guess I was more basing it off of what the body style looks like, because it looks very um kind of like something you would see at the snowball derby or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's not. Okay, so what are the wow, now I feel like a complete and utter moron that I didn't know the difference between that. But hey, we're all learning. What are the differences then between the APC and the Pro? You
The
said there's small differences. We're just curious, what are they?
So from running at Delaware to running the APC series, it's the engine rules in APC is weight breaks, where at Delaware you have to run a restrictor plate depending on what type of engine you're running.
Okay.
Weights are just a tiny bit different, like really very minimal adjustments, but small things.
Interesting. I wonder why that is. So this is are you just what will be the biggest challenge then for you with the APC? Is it going to be tracks that you probably haven't pounded a million laps at, like you have at Flamborough? Is that going to be the biggest change?
Yeah, that'll definitely be one of the biggest thing. It's also going to be the amazing competition that the series has. There's so many great guys, so many guys with good equipment, and it's going to be tough competing against them every week, trying to beat them, especially at tracks that I don't have as many laps at. And I'm just, I'm new to the pro late models, and some of these guys have been racing pro late models for 10 years. So just the experience level and the amount of competition there is in the series is going to be the most challenging thing. But I'm confident in our team. We got a really strong team and really good group of guys. And the McCall Racing Enterprises group is always preparing fast cars. So looking forward to the season.
What the end of the year? It's this time next year, or a little bit earlier. What's a successful year for you and the team?
I set my goals pretty high, so nothing else than a championship in the APC series and a championship at Delaware isn't going to make me happy. So we're gonna work really hard to win 2 championships this year, and hopefully at the end of the year we can come out as APC series champions.
Wow, that's I like it. I like hearing that confidence.
Go get him, man.
So, are we going to see you any Pinty Series races this year?
I hope so. I'm working on trying to get a few sponsors, and we can see what we do here, and maybe do a couple oval races near the end of the season. I'd really like to. Those cars look like a ton of fun. Look like they're a handful to drive. So I'd love to hop in one and do a couple races. I think that's the next step I would like to take in my career. So cool. Hopefully I get the opportunity to do a couple races this year.
That would be fantastic. If what tracks do you think those opportunities may come at? I'm assuming Flamborough, maybe.
Flamborough's not on the Pinty schedule this year.
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
Well, there's one that's unannounced, right?
Yes.
So we don't.
Unannounced, so maybe that's Flamborough.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Right?
I'm sorry. I found not like I just. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
No, probably Delaware would be a good track for me because it's an Ontario track. It's the very last race of the year, so I'd have time to go testing in that. So that'd probably be a good one to do. Yeah,
and you'll have the year under your belt, right? Of running Friday nights there.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Just talking about a little bit about the future of you at some point running in the Pinty series. I think you'll probably be humble about it. I think Jordan and I can both safely say we will see you full time at some point in the Pinty series. We don't doubt that. How do you feel about road and street courses?
I have no experience on any road courses, and I'd love to get some experience this year, maybe in some sort of road car and get some laps around CTMP and some road courses across Ontario, just so that I have experience there, because I definitely think that that's a big part of the Canadian Tire Pinty
I know,
series,
yeah.
the NASCAR Pinty series.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get some road experience if the opportunity is available, so that if I do end up racing in the Pinty series, that I do have some experience, because there's a lot of great racers like Alex Tagliani from our shop, and
Yes.
Andrew Ranger,
Right.
Kevin Lacroix. There's so many great road racers, so you definitely have to have that going good for you as well.
Right. Do you, just on a sidebar of not so serious, if you have a few more minutes, do you road race on iRacing at all? Do you like road racing? Are you interested in it?
I love road racing on iRacing. I'm not a big fan of the road course cars, but I love taking a NASCAR Cup car or truck or Xfinity car around CTMP.
Right, yeah.
I do it all the
Nothing
time,
beats it.
or the Daytona road course or the Charlotte
Yeah.
Roval.
Yeah.
Taking a NASCAR car around those tracks is a ton of fun for me. It's challenging. You gotta
Yeah.
be easy on the throttle.
Mhm.
Shifting is key. So doing that's a ton of fun. So I think racing a Pinty's car would be very similar.
Yeah, I did a couple weeks ago the 87s at Old Watkins Glen, and that was a lot of fun. That was a handful. That
finished
really
fifth.
showed how shitty of a driver I am. But I did see that the Arcas, and I really like those cars on iRacing.
Yep.
The Arcas are at Summit Point this week, so that might be fun to do too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. And why? Just curious, why you don't like the road racing cars, or you haven't had an interest, just hasn't attracted you?
It's just that I think they're kind of too easy to drive, some of them. They have so much grip, and it doesn't seem as hard as to drive. Even the NASCAR car on an oval, it seems harder to drive than a road racing car on a road course.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah. No, I would definitely agree in that sometimes. Yeah. The stock cars are very difficult on the road courses. No, that'd be great. That'd be cool to see you do some testing, or maybe show up in a little club event somewhere this year to race at a road course. The Nissan Micro Series. There you go.
For us, for us up here in Canada, and for some of our American listeners and whatnot, I mean, there's a couple of elements that can come into play up here. Is the Pinty Series, is that something that you would see as the highest step on the ladder? Are you interested in running events down south like the Snowball, or what is on the horizons?
I think every racer's dream is to go cup racing,
Right?
but obviously that's not sustainable, and the price, you need a lot of help in advertising and partners. So that's obviously the dream, but racing late models the rest of my life nothing would be wrong with that. So
Awesome.
I'm just gonna do whatever I have the opportunity to do, and take every opportunity I get, and we'll see where it takes me. I hope to do some races in the States soon. I'd love to go down and run the Snowball Derby, but whatever happens. I'm just gonna keep having fun while doing it all.
Absolutely. Oh man, I love to
super
hear
cool.
that.
I like
and
hearing
that's
that.
good. That's actually good to hear too, especially with
Refreshing.
with
refreshing to hear.
with the newer generation of drivers coming in. That's really good. So yeah, like you got all the sponsors on board. It's all you. You got a couple of months here. Us, for up in Canada, we have a few extra months tacked onto our off season because the snow. We actually, as we're recording here, we just got blasted. But yeah, so you guys got you just came back from the shop today.
Yeah, we were down at McCall Racing Enterprises in London, and we were working a bit with them, and just we're coming home, and the roads were really bad. There was snow all over the road, so it took a bit longer than we expected, but we made it home in one piece.
Yeah, and so for the next couple of months for you, what's the next? What's it looking like for you before you get the season going here?
We're gonna be busy working on the cars. We got we take the cars apart and pretty much completely rebuild them every winter. So we got lots ahead of us in getting the cars back together, getting everything prepared, ready to go. Hopefully we can do some preseason testing and make sure everything's all good with the cars. We're doing some updates to them, trying to make them faster, seeing what we can do to hopefully have a bit more speed and keep up with the competition for 2022. And I'm just really looking forward. I can't wait to get to the track with my new colors and get racing again. So
Awesome.
Really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. Well, I think we've taken up quite a bit of your time tonight, which we really appreciate.
Yeah, man, it means a lot. And hey, we'd love to race with you on iRacing. We'll race anything. I actually I'm a double A. I'm an A oval, A road, so you don't have to worry about me.
Yes, you do.
I'll race you clean. I race with Dale Jr. Okay, so.
Oh, why? Yeah, he didn't even know you were there. Anyway.
Yeah, I'd love to see you on iRacing or something like that, and have you up on our stream. We live stream stuff, so it'd be cool to race with you guys in our league and stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be a ton of fun.
So yeah. Thank you once again. Kyle Steckley, coming by, come on the show, getting us some time tonight. It means a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a ton of fun talking to you. Anytime, I'm happy to come on a show and talk about racing.
Thanks, man. All right, you have a good night.
You take it easy.
You too, guys.
Good luck. I'm really excited to watch you this year.
Yeah,
really good luck.
Can't wait, man. Gonna get some awesome pics of you.
Okay, talk to you later.
Take it
Bye.
easy.
Yeah, we'll see you at the track. Bye, buddy.
Wallace, that was a blast having Kyle on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and looking forward to having him on the show, obviously in the years to come. Very impressed by how he handled himself. He sounds very mature, and we obviously know he's awesome on the track. Just go on YouTube and watch some of the races and stuff that he's been in. So he holds himself there too.
I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Yeah.
Having that one win last year was awesome to see. So,
well, yeah, his first start in the APC series, being his first win.
Yeah,
he
at
had
Delaware.
many wins. He had many wins last season. That wasn't just his one win, but
that's right.
Like I said, he'll be definitely be when we're talking about the Pitty series. You're right. Well, we'll definitely be seeing him down the road. That's for sure.
I think so. He's. I think he's got a good mindset of where he wants to be and the goals for the team. And he's shooting really, really high. I think he could do it, and I'm excited to watch this year. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. It was a pleasure to talk to you. That's for sure.
And we'll keep an eye on that on the show and his performance throughout the season, of course, right here on the WOMs. As we wrap up this edition of Wide World of Motorsports podcast, just want to let everyone know, check us out on social media at the WWOMS. You can also check us out on all streaming platforms, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. You can also check out our website, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com. It's a lot. Give us money, we can shorten that.
Bit of a mouth.
But yeah, you can check everything out there with our esports stuff as well, our iRacing stuff, and more. We give some of our opinions, and we write down some things on our mind there as well. So check that out. We're gonna be back. At some point. Racing kind of takes a little bit of pause for a couple weeks, so maybe we'll be back the week of the 500. Who knows? We'll be around. I think that wraps it up for this edition, Wallace.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for listening to us talk about things we are mildly knowledgeable about.
We'll see you around the bend, folks.